simpele media, maar ek kom uit Afrika, it's so simple, So welcome everybody. I don't know what is the language of the day, but because Ronnie is English speaking by his mother tongue, we'll speak English this morning, and then we won't ask him to speak Afrikaans, which he does very well. Our first meeting was Afrikaans. So welcome to all. There is a attendance register circulating. It serves a multiple of purposes, and I will explain in the end again, especially about the WhatsApp group. So, but for now, you can just fill in your details, and also help us with if you are presenting an organization or a church or a specific sector, then you can just you can, if you represent a specific sector, write that. If you are here because you're a business owner, I went from business to business on Wednesday to invite, then write that so that we just know who you represent. So from my side, on behalf of the Dutch Reformed Church Utenay, Mother Church, welcome in this historic building that's history dates back to 1870. I have to say that every time I'm here because it feels quite remarkable. We are sitting in a piece of history, and lots have changed. But the town has changed. I'm here since July of last year, and I have heard beautiful stories about how beautiful the town was, and I stay right here on the other side of this property on Cannon Street. And I have unfortunately seen in only 8 months how things have deteriorated in Utenay and how things have become desperate. So my involvement was born because our church was directly affected by vagrants and homeless people. The worst of what happened is that some of our cables to the security gate and was stolen. But moreover, because we are affected by people sleeping down on the corners, and it's creating a certain impression, and as church, it also necessitates us to do something about that. So things got extreme by January, I would say, of this year, and by that time, I've already had a few conversations with Mr. Basson, the councillor for Ward 51. And he has done a lot of groundwork even before my arrival with running a year and MES Action. And we, the two of us, really believe that God has brought things together in different ways. And I've just told Ilse Martins from the Cape Town branch of MES. Ilse, you can show your face if you want to. Hear us, I hope so. Great. And I've just told her and Ronnie and Ulf that my history with MES goes back as far as 98 and even further to the mid-90s with street work in Cape Town. Hi Ilse, sorry, you are now small for some reason. But we'll make you big now. So that's where we started. Initially, as you know, we wanted to have a breakfast this morning. We wanted mostly business owners here from the CBD, and then some things happened, and we were not able to get that together in the way we wanted to. And then I spoke with Pierre van Wyk, who said unfortunately he can't be here due to his illness of his mother. That will push ahead, and that's why I'm going to read from the Bible, or just mention something from the Bible, because now it seems that mostly we are here from the church and religious sector, and some other people as well. So I want to welcome you, and I just want to mention one verse in Leviticus which says, I'm busy reading the whole Leviticus, and the whole Leviticus, the law of God, from the beginning makes mention of the alien and those who suffer. So I'm not going to read a specific verse, but even as far back as the first 5 books of the Bible, those who are destitute have been important to God, and that's why I believe we can and we should do something. And I don't think, as I said to Mr. Basson as well, I don't think it's strange that the first meeting is attended mostly via the church, because we are the people that do things in a certain way, not to negate the business people, and I believe most people that came through their businesses here are believers as well. So I've said enough. I want to introduce, welcome. Sorry, I always forget your name, but I just want to mention you from the UD. Shanti. If you say it, then I remember. Welcome, Shanti. Just fill in the register for us as well. So I still don't get the UD, so I don't know if the article will be on Thursday. So I think they steal it from my head. So welcome everybody. I am Lucky. We are ready to start. Wolf, you can bring your coffee here, and then just give us a short overview of where you started. I am in time. My 5 minutes. So. You guys hope you can give me 5 minutes. I don't need 15 minutes. Good morning to everybody. Honestly, privileged to be here this morning. Almost couldn't make it because I must judge myself for the traffic on Saturday morning. Not used to come on a Saturday morning. I don't know what to say. I am overwhelmed with the presence of the people here this morning. You know, sometimes, or most of the times when there are problems, people just disappear. And because they wish that the problem will disappear. And this problem is not going to disappear. It is a social ill. It is a social problem that we must deal with. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of background. And I just wanted to say that I asked Shanti yesterday, in fact, day before yesterday, I had to negotiate with him because he had to negotiate with his boss to be here this morning. So from Shanti, I want to really appreciate your presence because without the media getting the message out there, it's going to be difficult. And the nice thing is that he is from a local media newspaper, which is a knock and drop, which is free, so it reaches the people much easier. And then Colonel Appel from SAPS, Mr. Bispo Commander. We've been tackling this matter head on right from the beginning. Welcome, Colonel. I think I will step right into another. I saw one of my ex-colleagues, Uncle Davis, there from electricity. I hope he's not going to consider giving them electricity in the street. That's not going to work. Uncle, on a lighter note, that's just a naughty one. I think Ronnie will not be too happy with that remark. Also to Ronnie, it's good to see you again. Okay. The whole process started with 2 particular spots in the CBD. The one being right across Proclesia, where the guys really came, like 10 or 15 of them, sleeping on the pavement. In fact, they started right around the police station, if I'm not mistaken, Colonel. They had to, every now and then, they had to send out a police officer to chase them away from the police station, which is because it's a security threat on the one hand, and secondly, it's also not only for the police station a breach, but also for the people coming there. So, and obviously the guys left them because it's safe for them. One can understand that as well. So then they moved down towards the flats, and that's where our problem started. Because they were starting to really camp there, and harassing the older people that stay safe. And they did everything there. That was their toilet, that was their everything, and they left everything on the pavement. At night they would come and sleep, but during the day their stuff gets nicely stacked up there against the wall,
and then they would go and collect and sorry, beg and whatever, and so forth. So, and then our other spot, which is still a very bad one, and I'll speak about that a little bit later, and that's the one next to SARS. That's a big headache at the moment. Now, what we did from a law enforcement point of view, it's harsh words, we don't like doing it, but you must remember we do get complaints from the community, we get complaints from businesses. In this instance, there's a bank being underpaid in the sense that people arriving there in the morning, staff, they go in a specific place at the bank, and these guys are there. So if they go in there in the morning, they can easily be kept hostage, and the bank is hostage there, you know. So to get back to the Church Street one, what we, because the police also raised concern with me as the ward councillor, I decided to bring people together. And it's a pity, Erika Potback, who's our social worker, you know, she promised to be here this morning, and most probably she will still arrive. We called a multidisciplinary meeting at the town hall down at Market Square, and we had 2 or 3 meetings there. Well attended. Our land invasion team, I also invited Matt from land invasion to be here this morning, and he did indicate that we have high school players. So that's the hardline approach. We take them away, or we break down whatever they build and you know, get rid of it that way. So when we engaged well, in this multidisciplinary meeting, eventually after the second and third, I think Ronnie, you came in on the second or the third meeting, I think, when Erika exposed us to MES, we realized in the first meeting it was like shooting issue, because I think some of you might have picked up in PE, the Metro Police and the SAS acted in Newton Park. Very next to, close to APSA and at Newton Park, and there's a parkway and toilet blocks and stuff. The guys went in there, well, they're also sleeping on the pavements and stuff. So eventually it panned out that the guys acted illegally, because you cannot do what they want, what they did, by removing them. And in our process, we were clearly told by the social worker and the social development team that you need to reintegrate these people, the homeless, or the vagrants. I don't know what to call them, street dwellers. We had so many names for them. And it was the duty of social development and social workers to find their next of kin, to find their house. And I can tell you, I've interviewed many of them. I went and they would say, no, I'm coming from Rosedale, I'm coming from Guadalupe, I'm coming from Kabah. They've got a house, but the conditions at home is of such a nature that they don't want to be there. First of all, and secondly, they live on the street. I was so shocked, and Gurni may also continue.
Yes.
I was so shocked to learn, even our waste management people who are now in this week, we had everybody there, but not everybody in those meetings, that the type of living these guys make from the street, it's unbelievable. They earn more than what I earn with what they collect. I was told, Curtin must help me, Ronnie, if I'm quoting wrong figures here, but guys collect tins. Guys, okay, this must be a regular lot of tins. But they can earn up to 800 rand a day by collecting tins because of the cardboard, plastic bottles, plastics. And so we carry on. And they go and sell it at the end of the day, and you'll see them carrying bags and these big, these bags. And then that's over and above what they get from you as a resident. You get something, you get to go there next to your cargo. So you almost want to quite a salary in the month. So I think that explains why you have people on the street. Yes, we do have people that pick out of the house, they find their house, and then they find themselves asleep on the. That's another word we have to do. Okay, so we then, with the assistance of the police, we initially with the police, we collected them all. We did not arrest them. We had a function one morning where we gave them something to eat. But the main focus of getting some record of who we have on the street. Because that wasn't that successful, right? We had a few people. We had even had some service in terms of religion, you know. We also need to be careful how, you know, something matched up. So that didn't work well. And then our social worker, they went physically at night and over weekends. Because remember, those people are there only certain time. So they went around collecting information, which was also not too successful. And although that information, some of the information became available, it did not really yield a way forward for us. Until Erika linked us up with Ronnie, and our agriculture when he spoke to us, especially in Tree, going to speak this morning and tell us exactly what he told us. It's good to understand where he comes from. Sorry, I'm saying you, Ronnie. It's very vital, if you put it that way. It's very important that people must understand that you understand what's happening on the street. If I go back because for us as lay people that don't understand, we see a problem and we deal with the problem. I'm setting the scene for Ronnie to speak. Okay, so I know that in the meantime they've also done their own evaluation, if I'm not mistaken, or stop taking part and take it that way, or speak, refer to it that way. In the process, after the meeting we had with Ronnie and the exposure we had, rather, we realized there's a way forward. There's a definite way forward, but there's certain things to happen. And this is part of that certain things that needs to happen. What's happening here this morning. It's a pity, as Rumi has said, that not all the people that we want here is here. But I think the fact that they are not here and you are here is even clearer. This is a start, and that's what we need. We need rugby match can only start with what we need, and that's what we're doing here this morning. I'm speaking off the top of my head. I haven't prepared anything because I speak from the heart. I then met up with him on other issues, and we started talking because we talked a lot. And because I think we're on the same page and on the same wavelength, you know. And I exposed him to what I learned from Ronnie and from that meeting. And obviously he associated with it immediately. And I must honestly say, I'm happy, you know, like a relay. I'm sort of, the battle is still halfway between my hand and his hand. But I'm only a small little fish in this big pond. We should be coming like one big whale. So he started, and I think he's got more time at hand because I've got like 6,000 plus problems on a daily basis. So one can't just focus on one particular matter. And you know, the stuff of problem that we are having, if I may call it a problem, we need to start a process but continuously be on top of it. It's the only time that we're going to be successful. I must say that probably to a large degree we're successful with our own efforts to reduce the number of people. I think there's 2 or 3 left in the species. And I won't say we didn't harm them. I'm to admit, because I'm not that type of person. But that's how we share that. We started to moving this up. that is removable and disposed of. We didn't take the valuables. We took a mattress, which is a piece of nonsense, I can say. We started irritating it, I can put it that way. And by that, doing that, we managed for them to relocate. I don't know where they've been relocated to. The problem is that they are nomadic. They move from one place to the other. So where they are currently, I cannot 100% vouch for that. I suspect that they joined up with the crowd next to SARS. Because the SARS crowd for those that, everybody, you know where the SARS problem is in that little lane between Saddleback and the old SARS building in Lancashire. And we are currently working on a plan on that one. I suspect they might have moved there, but I realized in the process that if you attend to them in that way and keep the patient clean, basically, it will help. Because the poor elderly people in nearby flats, especially the women, they were targeting the women and shouting, slandering messages or remarks to them and that type of thing. And people kept on phoning, what are you doing, what are you doing? And honestly, people, and it was a health asset as well, you know. I mean, that is the side of things. And I mean, SARS now is another focal point. There might be a solution coming from this meeting today. But going forward, we will have an operation at SARS. We are planning something with land invasion. But we are also talking to the landlords. In fact, I invited the landlord. It's from that, who's Aki? Yeah. So they were he was going to be here. In any case, we are planning to close that lane. It's a municipal service lane. Obviously, there's certain permissions to be obtained. But the guy from Rosenshauer, the tenant there, the landlord of that building, has indicated the willingness to put a palisade fence on that side of the lake. And then we spoke to the landlord or landlords of the sites in Lancers Lake. There's a one vacant site and two built-up sites. They are prepared to close that site. So, and then the roads would like to use that lane as some tables and chairs and stuff there. That might deal with that problem. But where are those people going? And I'm going to basically land now as the new term in our meetings are. We are going to go to land. So I don't know where the landing is coming from. I'm not the helicopter or anything like that. The whole process ended now with after our engagement and not ended, but Gumi was going on, carrying on with Ronnie, and I was carrying on the side with my side. Because the bottom line that Ronnie told us, we are prepared as MES to open a satellite in Ukraine. And we said we are. Because that is our answer. I don't want to speak this Sunday, but I want you to understand where we are now, and then you can take off. When I land, you can take off. Unbelievable house circumstances forces you in Hayway. Most of you know about the challenge at the old Stowe, where the school was in Stowe Road, where the old railway building was. The head office for Council or something, the local one. So they vandalized that place to pieces. And you will see the constitution there. We got a lot of water there in that intersection. It's all coming from that level through the stormwater, because our water division, the valve is so finished that they can't get the water properly shut. So I'm talking to Transit at the moment to see if we can acquire that and get hold of that building. Because I think that's a beautiful building for a shelter. My initial encounters with them were positive. They're very quiet at the moment. I asked them, and perhaps that's why they are quiet, because we don't have money at this stage to rent a building, for example. We were hoping to get somebody that can say to us today from business that, yes, we have to put in the kind of whatever the case may be. So I was playing on the series to say, what about the corporate social investment? I mean, the building is going to pieces. We can use the building usefully. And the manager was initially said, yes, we can score some other points. I don't know, what do you the name use? Looks like they've got some, in the government sector, if you do certain corporate social investment, then you get some new points up. But he made that reference. But now, ever since about a month and a half now, that I find it difficult, he gave me a runaround, but I've got another name now of a lady that I will be contacting after today's session. So why we get excited about that building? Ronnie told us that we can't take these people to places forget about that. We can't even take them down to seriously, for that matter. We must try and keep them, they will work with it. They've got their own processes of rehabilitation and because we all know that they are abusing substances and stuff. And then if we can keep them as close as possible to the CBD, that would be, in my understanding, the better option. And that building is perfect because it's just outside the residential environment. Although there's a few houses across the road, I think they're 3 or 4. So really, that building and the idea of that building came like it was given to us on the plate. But now we just need to get over that hurdle to get that building. So we have something in sight. We have got a tool shipping spanner to get the thing going, and it's just now. I think he's the shipping spanner, and this one sitting there in front is the lightning bolts. I'm going to leave it there with me. If there's any questions later on, I'm happy to respond to that. Thank you.
I really want to come up, so I'm just start. So just to emphasize, we have 2 pieces of the puzzle already coming together. There's a lot of things that we don't have. So thank you all for setting the stage so that there's real things. And I'm sure Ronnie and Ilse will say something about this extremely dangerous thing of keeping them inside our area instead of taking them to Graceland. So it's important to okay.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me. Just so you understand and know who I am, I'm Ronnie, and I am the branch manager of MES in Canada, Elizabeth, and I've been there since I think 2019. I sort of bring us right back a little bit because when somebody's passionate, they kind of jump far ahead. So I'm going to bring the council back so we can start your foot on the ground. Let's start there. And I think the best is just to introduce myself properly and tell you where I come from. I was born into a family of destruction, alcohol and drugs and stuff. I was taken away from them, removed at the age of 4 years old, put in a children's zone. By the time I was 10 years old, I threw my first beer on drum, and by the time I was 16, I was a drug addict. I got in trouble with the law, and I got sent to a reformatory school up in Queenstown, and learned better ways to do certain things, to irritate the law, and then got myself into more trouble, ran away from there. I ended up sleeping on the streets in Port Elizabeth, in and out of shelters, and at the age of 20, I was in St. Albans in prison behind bars, just about to turn 21. From there, I got sent to my first rehab up in Victoria, and from Victoria they didn't even release you to the public, they just sent you to another rehab in Noakworks. I turned 21 in Victoria, went to Noakworks. It was a very hardcore rehab, but it is there that God cornered me and I surrendered myself to Christ in 1996, and I've never looked back since. And so I've walked this road and I've dedicated my life to working with people, my people like me, that have struggled with the challenges that I struggled with, and I want to help people break that cycle of destruction in their lives. And so I went and studied. I don't know why I did that, but because I never studied at school, but I went and studied theology of all things. And when I finished, I went to go and work to prove to myself that I can actually keep a job and that I can pay my way. And then I started an organization or a program called Dreams Restoration, which is a living program for people struggling with addiction. And that was in 2015. And and I was running this program and had a lot of success with us finishing the program, but there was always a need for the second phase house, which is always a challenge. But then MES approached me and asked me if I would get involved with the organization, and so I put it myself in. So that's kind of just a quick rundown of where I come from and so forth. So when we talk about homelessness, obviously it's a very complex situation. For most people, when they look at somebody who's homeless, they tend to think, well, the guy just needs to get a job. You know, they'll just find work and they'll be okay. But in doing that, we just show how self-centered we are as people, because we're not considering where that person actually comes from, what kind of influences they had, what brought them to that place. Because in many cases, yes, it is self-inflicted, just like in my situation, I made choices that took me down a bad path. They made choices, but in a lot of other situations, it's out of their control. Somebody else made decisions that caused them to end up where they are. So it's not as simple as just, find a job. Or people say, they've got homes, and let's just go back home. Well, you try and tell that 16-year-old girl who gets raped every other night that she must go back home. It's not that simple. There's reasons why people end up on the street. And so that's where we kind of come in. We say, listen, we want to look at the underlying issues and we want to deal with the problem from there, whether it's mental health issues, drug issues, whether there's disruption at home or whatever. We want to go there and we want to deal with it from that place. But in order to do that, we need to have a safe environment for them that they can feel, they can come to, they can trust, and they can open up. So MES started in Johannesburg in Hillbrow in about 38 years ago, and it started with the church, the Dutch Reformed Church, where they kind of also saw the homeless people, and they realized that they want to do something about it, so they started a soup kitchen. And from the soup kitchen, eventually they realized you can't just feed people, you can actually do something to help them. You feed them, they come and eat, and they leave, and they're still in the same position. So then the shelter concept started, and then eventually, we've got branches now nationally, we've got Hillbrow, Kempton, and then we've got branches in Cape Town, and Milza has kindly joined us this morning from Cape Town, and they've got a whole lot of different kind of setups there, and then obviously we've got the branch locally in Port. And indeed we house about between 100 and 140 people at the shelter itself, and we try and help them to find better pathways out of homelessness. We do work on a 4-phase model, outreach and relief, and then that's our first phase. Our second phase would be getting to become change ready, and then our third phase is to get them work ready, and then the fourth phase is reintegration. And we've got these phases and different programs and stuff that we work with in those phases to try and help those people to change. What I'd like to focus on though is what I think would help in this environment, in this area, is to talk about the safe spaces. Safe space is really exactly what it says. It is a safe space. And it's an overnight facility where the guys come and it's raining or whatever, or they're having a bit of a rough time on the street. Believe it or not, you could have a good time on the street and a rough time on the street, but they're getting a bit of a rough time and they feel they just want to be, away from everything. So they'll come to the overnight facility, they'll sleep for the night. We open up at 5 o'clock in the evening. The next morning, 7 o'clock we close, and then they vacate again, and they can come back again the following day at 5 o'clock. What they get is they get a mattress to sleep on, they get a meal, and they have access to ablution, toilets and ablution and so on. They can also have a locker that they can use during the day. So if somebody's got a bag or stuff and doesn't have to carry it with them, they can actually leave it in the locker and go and find work or be part of the programs that we offer, and then come back and sleep for the evening. We charge 30 rand a night for the guys to come and utilize the facility, and we charge 2 rand a day for them to hire a locker. So we don't believe in giving handouts. We believe that you have to take responsibility. And that's one way of taking responsibility. 30 rand a night doesn't cover our costs, but it teaches them something. When I pay 30 rand for, I've earned that up. That bed that evening is mine. If I pay 2 rand a day, that locker is mine. I've got something. And it changes just the way they think. And it starts giving them a sense of belonging. So the idea is that they kind of become more comfortable with the fact that I've got a mattress that's safe. I've got a meal that's waiting. I've got access to a shower and a toilet. And I've got a locker that's mine. And in that way they'll keep coming back. And once they come there, we obviously make contact with them. They get to see a social worker. We find out what the underlying issues is. If the person needs rehabilitation, we've got a program. They can sign up for that program. Or if it's mental health, we'll make a connection to the hospitals and stuff and try and get them admitted somewhere. Or sometimes it's just at home they need somebody to mediate. Because there's a big argument over really nothing. And so you go and you make peace and then go back home. Or it is that the person just doesn't have the energy because you get to a place of hopelessness. So that person just doesn't have the energy to go make an iron for himself, which he needs in order to get a job. Or his driver's license expired and he can find a driving job, but he's run out of energy, out of any kind of hope. So we help them to do that, and they will work to earn the funds to actually go and get their own ID, to get their own driver's license renewed. If somebody comes to the shelter, for instance, and they come and ask me some food, I'll say to the guy, okay, that's fine. While I'm preparing the food, can you wash these windows for me? Can you just sweep up and pick the rubbish up around the shelf here for me? And the guy was really serious. He actually does that, and he's earned the meal. It's not a handout. He's earned it. He's worked for it. And so we start teaching those kind of disciplines, and we try to change the mindset of the person so that they can, we can start working with them and building trust in each other. So then when the guys in the safe space, they can also be part of our work readiness program. And the work readiness program is the guys work 4 hours a day, 4 days a week, or 5 days, depending on the contract. And what they do is they go and clean the streets. They cut the grass in the parks and on the verges. You have special projects where they do the road marking, they're painting the markings on the road, where they fill potholes. We take graffiti down on the walls and stuff like that. So the beauty of that for me is that vagrant, which is a word that I don't enjoy because it means that somebody is useless or has no value, that vagrant has now become an asset to the community because that's the person that's cleaning the streets. We've got many successful stories. I think one of our flagship stories is St. George's Park. There were about 400 guys sleeping in St. George's Park. and nobody could go in there because it was unsafe. And so we started by cleaning up the cemetery, and then the Friends of St. George's Park got involved, and they actually employed a team of 5 guys from the work readiness program. And we went in there and we lifted the canopy, we trimmed the trees, we started fixing up the pavers, we moved the guys that were living in St. George's Park, gave them an option to come to the shelter, and we cleaned it up to a point where today, this morning, they ran the park run. They now have a park run in the park, which is beautiful. And the park itself is clean, it's safe, people can walk through there again, and the guys that did it are guys that slept on the street. They were the guys sleeping in the park, and they've now made the park safe for everybody else. And there's many other stories like that. So part of what we want to introduce to you and expose you to is that the solution, there is a solution to the problem. And the solution is to have a safe space and a work program, to have a drop-in facility, because it does make a difference. I'm going to hand over to Ilse now, and Ilse's going to just explain to you, she'll come and tell you a little bit more about stats, and she'll tell you what a difference the safe space and drop-in facilities have made, because there's a big misunderstanding. As soon as you tell people, listen, we need to put this place here in the city, everybody says, I'm now introducing everybody to come here to the place and it's going to be worse. It actually is the contrary, and Ilse will explain to you how that is actually different to what people are saying, what will happen. And Ilse, are you ready?
Thank you, Ronnie. Okay. Hi, guys. I'm quickly going to, because Ronnie already explained that we're a national organization operating for almost 40 years, and essentially we believe that homelessness can be solved. So this is just some financial information. I'm not going to go through it. It's just to say that we've been around a long time. I think we are standing at 50 million at this point. Ronnie also indicated that we are offering solutions that has evidence, but we always do it in the context of when we do come to communities like yourself, like Eikenhaken, we invite them, invite you to fall in love with the problem. It seems counterintuitive. I had the privilege to meet Mr. Levine, who is one of the guys that actually thought of and put together ways, and he was saying that you need to fall in love with the problem, not the solution. And in our case, it is all the complaints about homelessness. I think Ruth has painted that picture, and Ronnie has indicated that homelessness is complex. There's a lot of things to consider. It's not just about giving them work and giving them a place to stay. Why do people become homeless? The inability to remain employed, inability to earn income, and the inability to form supportive relationships. Okay? And why would that person not have these abilities? It's psychological, it's psychiatric, and as Ronnie indicated, also addiction is a problem. Okay, so in solving Eikenhagen's problem, in solving the City of Cape Town's problem, the evidence-based organizations, of which MES was one, got together to say, but we first need to understand the problem. And more specifically, what does it cost a municipality? And so we did a cost of homelessness study. It was the first study done in Africa, and we won an international award for this study. And what came out of this study was that the average time of a person on the street comes down to 8 years and 7 months. Now this becomes important because it indicates that more than 50% of our guys are chronically homeless or have long-term homelessness, which means it's going to take a longer time to get them off the streets. Because remember, we believe homelessness can be solved. We did a point-in-time count, and we found that our problem here in Cape Town, we're in the city of Cape Town, we've got approximately 14,000 homeless. And that we are spending in excess of 744 million per annum on those 14,000 people. And that doesn't make sense. But that the bulk of that money is being spent on punitive responses or reactive responses. So being an old cop myself, before I came to MES, I was working in the South African Police Service. When I left, I held the rank of captain. And so this was an important factor, seeing that if we break down that 744 million, we saw that we are spending 45% on policing, and we know that policing does not solve homelessness. What was also interesting was to see that 39% of that 744 million is a humanitarian spend or a compassionate spend. That means that people will give money at traffic lights to people on the street. So both punitive and humanitarian spends do not take people off the street permanently. We also saw that only 16% of money that the municipality is spending is being spent on, and business for that matter, is being spent on developmental processes like what Ronnie described. So where do you spend your money? So there is enough money, but it's how we spend our money. And so we looked at what's happening in PE and dispatch and in Uitenhage, for example, to see, okay, so what are the numbers that you guys are looking at? So the study was saying, and this is a general rule of thumb. So when you count, you can multiply that number by anything between 2.5 to 7 times, because you know that you're not going to count everybody in one night that's there. So just in Kabarga, in those 3 wards, if we apply that same principle, you are actually dealing with more than 1,000 people, like 3,000 people. So, how do we solve it then? Because we can be overwhelmed with the sheer number. We have problems like Rolf have indicated that there's crime, there's social ills, there's policing operations. And what we found that works on our side is to follow a collaborative impact approach. Now remember, I came from the police. I didn't know all these sexy terms. I just copied the idea of a joint operations committee, a JOC, because I realized if state, civil society and business, or state, church and business don't work from one plan, we are going to shoot like a shotgun. And we're supposed to be shooting like a R5 rifle to solve homelessness. Now, what is a collective impact approach? It means that there's a common agenda to change something. We have shared measurement for data and results. We do mutually enforcing activities. We have communication, and then there is a body, a backbone that's coordinating everything. Now, this can be in our setup. We work with SIDS, and we located this JOC underneath the SID because the SIDS represent business interests. The local municipality members are on there, neighborhood watchers are on there, private security are on there, SAPS is on there, and so literally you have all the security guys, the business guys, as well as the helping organization sitting around one table and working from one plan. And so what did that lead to? Okay, that's how the JOCs look like. We have one in Faro, Bellville, Durbanville. We helped Stellenbosch establish their one. Worcester is the recent one that we established. But the JOC in Johannesburg is interesting because it's being led by the big corporates like Investec and your banks and your universities and Nando's that said enough is enough. We are fed up with the deterioration of our city centres, and we want to do something about it. The JOC in Stellenbosch is being run by the local municipality. They are chairing it. So a JOC is just, okay, who has got the reach and the will to start doing something about this. One of the very first products of the JOC in Bellville was the safe space. It was innovation. It was because a security guy was sitting around the table and was saying, this is all great, but I'm being pressurized by the business owners to remove the homeless. And so where do I take them to? And then somebody else said, oh well, they're already sleeping under the awnings, in the residential area, under business, in the business areas. Why don't we just put up an awning and ablutions? And so the very first safe space came about because we were trying to address an issue that our security partners were having, as well as understanding that the municipality can't open up shelters left, right and centre. Because remember, there is no national policy on how to deal with homelessness. Every municipality, every province is trying to deal with it their way. And so this was a localized response to solving homelessness. Another product of the JOC was a process flow. In other words, we are recognizing that the police, that the private security, that municipality, everyone has a specific mandate. But if we organize ourselves in such a way that everybody knows, here in this space, remember Ronnie talked about the 4 phases? In this space, here is where my mandate is going to have the biggest impact. And so everybody could plot themselves in terms of their mandate. So we're not asking now, I heard that the Wispel commander is here. We're not asking you, sir, to now have a bleeding heart and trying to save people and, to let them come to know and love Jesus. That would be wonderful, but we don't expect it. Because Subsidi's mandate is very clear in terms of the Criminal Procedure Act. So where, in terms of this process flow, would that mandate serve us best? The same for local churches that feel that they are called to reach out to the poor and to give soup and bread. And remember, my father was a Dutch Reformed minister. My first husband was a Dutch Reformed minister. So I get the mandate of the church. The second husband is a businessman. You can say I've moved on to, what is the saying? First time you marry for love and the second time for money. It's up to you to decide, but the fact remains is that we all have vested interest, and if the churches are just going to hand out soup and it's not within a process, you are actually keeping people on the street. And that's not what is biblical. What is biblical is that we walk a journey with people. And so that journey or what you want to do, what you as a church are called to do, can fit into the journey that needs to be walked with people. Another product of the Paro job was the Center of Hope, where we said, okay, we love to innovate, maybe we should try to put all 4 phases under one roof. And so a local property owner gave us the very first squash courts that was in Cape Town, Health and Racket Club, essentially. Another property development company gave us the 4 million to refit the building. And then something interesting happened that we didn't foresee, and this is how God works. Because we thought we are solving Paro's homeless problem by having daytime and nighttime services, by having the work program and having second phase accommodation all in one space. What we didn't anticipate was this. So before the Paro Center of Hope was operational, the VRC statistics in terms of complaints that is related to homelessness were 425, and like you can see, it's those different drinking in public, using drugs in public, bylaw infringements, begging, and structures that are put up, encampments. So before the Center of Hope was there, they had 425 complaints. After the center was there, running a year, in other words, a year later, the complaints, in other words, that whole perception that if we are going to have daytime and nighttime services in a particular, if it's in the city center or in a particular neighborhood, it's going to draw more people in, is being refuted by evidence to say it actually helps to reduce complaints. And this is amazing because we always knew that it's more helpful than harmful. But you know that old saying, perception becomes fact, but fact is not necessarily real. This is concrete evidence that day and night services reduces crime, reduces complaints. So, Ronnie said that we are going to look a little bit at the statistics. Now it is crucial to understand that how does collaboration then look like? Because essentially there is 3 main aspects to this. It's how do we teach the community to move from a compassionate spend to a responsible spend. Right? So the evidence-based organizations, those that did the cost of homelessness study, decided, because each of us had a voucher system, let's combine the voucher system so that we have a City of Cape Town reach. And that meant that we had to get resellers, in other words, businesses to sell our vouchers. That's not just us selling the vouchers. And then we had to have partners, other partners, that say that were willing to say, well, if a person comes with a voucher, they can redeem it at our place. In other words, a redeeming partner. So that's that purple block. Then right at the bottom block, the teal block, or the little blue block, is law enforcement. In other words, moving from punitive policing to developmental policing. Now I love the broken window thing. Everybody is always citing the broken window thing. Right, so let me give you now an old cop view on the broken window theory. Remember, when that thing was birthed in New York, and the zero tolerance were birthed in New York, and we had the privilege of going to talk to the 2 years ago to the mayor, to the New York mayor, and his department heads, because we had to present this cost of homelessness study in Chicago at the International Journal on Homelessness. And then our Nando's partner in Josie My Josie organized us to have a discussion with the New York mayor. New York could do zero tolerance and broken window syndrome because they have over 300 shelters. In other words, you cannot do zero tolerance if you don't have any alternatives. And it was interesting because the mayor and his team then told us our problem and why we are interested in your model. The little South Africans, you know, how did Trump say, the shithole country? Okay. Because we don't have that many resources, we need to keep the people moving through the system. That which Ronnie said, which is biblical, by the way. It is biblical to earn your bread in the sweat of your brow. It is biblical to take up responsibility. So you can't get stuck into a shelter system, because that's what's happening with the people in New York. So the police will find them, they will take them to those shelters, and they've got different shelters. Youth shelters, transgender shelters, family shelters. They've got a whole buffet of shelters, but then people get stuck into that system. They're not moving. And how does it work? And this is now the middle block. And this is what the model is giving us. Outreach and relief, in other words, knowing who is where, what is the characteristics of the people that is in our area. And that is why it is crucial that the church's outreach worker and field workers of the municipality works together with law enforcement. Because if you're going to have your operation, it is going to be more effective if you had field workers going out before the operation takes place to say, guys, the law is the law. Here's alternatives. before the law comes, can't we make a plan? We need to have mutual reinforcing activities. And we need to have a plan in terms of how to get people ready for change, how to get them work ready or employable, and then how to reintegrate them. So this is how our universal voucher looks like. It's the My Change voucher, and we've got resellers. So this is a way that you can teach the community to give responsibly rather than give money on the street. This is what we do in terms of helping our security partners and our police partners, is to say, okay, you want us to move from punitive policing to developmental policing, but how does that look like? So we do a little bit of, we use this book of this FBI agent, Chris Voss, in terms of negotiation tactics. We do a little bit of training with them in terms of profiling, because we realize that our policing partners don't know when they are dealing with a drug psychosis or a mental health issue, because there is a difference between the two. So how do you deal with somebody that has got a drug-induced psychosis versus somebody that has got a mental health issue? Those are some of the things, because all that we bring is brutality to people that's already highly traumatized. And so if the organizations and the churches are busy working with these people and you don't have a accommodation solution yet, it means that we are working with the people whilst they're still on the street. Now the policing partner comes, and all the work that we've done in getting them change ready can be undone in one operation. And so what we've done with some of the neighborhood watches was to say, okay, where could there be safe sleeping zones? Because remember, crime prevention, you shouldn't be worried about the guys that's sleeping. You should be worried about the guys that's walking around 2 o'clock in the morning. So if law enforcement, security, police wake people up, you can't sleep here. Now they're walking around. So what is alternative security strategies that we can help you with to think about in terms of, well, there's a group of 8 people, I know them, they are sleeping, they are part of programs, I don't have to worry about them. Subsequently, some of those people becomes actually the informers to say there's new people in our area and they are up to no good. We've already discussed the model, but it's essentially, it is a journey from being totally dependent to becoming independent. And how do we measure that? Because measuring is important. We measure it by, can the person maintain their sobriety? Are they permanently employed? Are they permanently housed? Because then they don't return to the streets. Because just chasing them, this whole crime displacement thing doesn't work. Because now this neighborhood watch is chasing them to the next neighborhood watch, that security is chasing them to that area, but the people don't leave the streets. Ronnie indicated the 4 phases. This is crucial because under each phase, we have entry criteria and graduation criteria. In other words, we measure people's readiness to go to the next phase in terms of their behavior. Has their behavior changed? Once again, this is Christian principles. If you accepted the Lord Jesus as your Savior, your behavior is going to change. Yes, do we fall and do we still struggle with sin? Yes. Is there repentance? Yes. Can you move on when you have shown us correct behavior? Yes. And this is just to say exactly what is those behavior indicators. Ronnie has shared with you the potholes that they fill, the drains that they clean, the St. George's Park that they've done. Now I just want to show you, in terms of measurement, how measurement can look like. Our part that we do is at intake we measure where they are sleeping, for example. And when they start going through our programs, after 3 months, have they moved in terms of their accommodation? So now let's just look at that blue bar. How many were living on the streets at intake for our PEP program, our employment program? And after 3 months, how that bar has lessened. How many people are not sleeping on the street after 3 months? The same for your motivation of change. You know, those pre-contemplative, contemplative, old police women, this is the social workers part. But see how people can move after 3 months. And these are the things that we track. Those are all the stuff that we measure. Also just after 3 months, it's significant for me because people say, ja man, hulle is sleg man, hulle gaan nie verander nie, ons het al klomp goed te probeer, you know, they just there. But this is the type of change that you can see after 3 months. Here, dit bly maar in geneek, né? But it's a problem for me too. So, here, all of us are struggling there. So, questions, can homelessness be solved? Yes, it can. What are the core principles? It needs to be data-driven. You need to have a job. You need to have a collective impact approach. You must follow an evidence-based model. There must be measurement. We must know if there is a return on investment. But more importantly, you guys need to fall in love with the problem. That is the premise from which you work. It's from the meanest oaks that really hate the homeless because they are bringing down my property value and affecting my business, to the guys that wants to get them into heaven. Both of these groups and everybody in between wants them not to be on the street. In other words, we've got one thing in common. You can be... There's just some of the solutions that we are dreaming about about her. And just to recap, solving homelessness can be profitable. Homelessness is complex and it will cost a lot if we don't change the way we respond to it. So make this decision today before you leave this very old, beautiful, historic church that we are going to form a joint operations committee. We're going to work from one plan and we are going to reinforce each other's mandates. And measure the impact, decide on what is the stuff that needs to be measured. And we need the whole model, not just parts of it. We can't just have a safe space and maybe a help desk. Because if people move through the process, then they're going to need all of the support. They're going to need an accommodation continuum. We need a development continuum, because now we need to place people in jobs. So it is important that we establish the whole model to see what do we have in our hands and what don't we have and how can we put that in place. Business has a vital role to play. Government has a vital role to play. Community has a vital role to play. This is not just the government's problem. It's everybody's problem. That is also biblical. It's interesting, Leviticus were mentioned this morning. And in Leviticus, God said to his people, when you sow your field and you reap, don't reap to the edges. So the whole idea of getting involved with the poor is a biblical thing, but it is a business thing. And there is low-hanging fruit. You've got a wonderful resource in Ronnie. Not just in terms of his lived experience, but in how he has set up and understand the components that needs to be in place for you to make a start. You have the whole of MES, the 39 years worth of where we messed up. We failed forward. We have beautiful and brilliant partnerships with other evidence-based organizations, with other business forums, like your Josie, my Josie, to come alongside you guys to say you are not alone. Yes, you feel overwhelmed, but how do you eat an elephant? Stukkie for stukkie. So the invitation today includes solving homelessness as a part of your strategic priority in order to attract and retain business, to get buy-in from the business chamber and community members, to establish day and nighttime services, to establish the jobs, to support data collection and the monitoring of that strategy, and to implement a voucher system. Any questions for me or Ronnie?
Yeah, I think before we get there, just to mention a couple of things around a safe space and a drop-in facility. You know, the church and humanitarian organizations want to change people's lives. Business and communities want to have safe streets and clean streets. Yeah? So we actually want to help. We want to work together, because that problem is solved by us coming together. And in many ways, we see this in the safe space drop-in facility model and structure. Just an example, for instance, a lot of complaints that we have locally from Cape Town and in Joburg is people handing out soup. Soup kitchens. They hand out soup here and they hand out soup down there, and it's all over the place. Everybody's handing out soup, and the guys can get their soup and they get their little styrofoam cup all in it and they throw it on the ground and it's dirty, and there they go on. We have complaints, the guys are urinating and defecating all over the place, all these kind of things. With a drop-in facility and a safe space, you can actually bring those things together. So if people are handing out soup, they can hand out soup at that facility. It centralizes. It provides ablution facilities. You know, so it starts solving just by having that place there. You already start to solve the problem, and now you can actually go deep and start working with the ablution. We've got many partnerships, like I said. I think one of our most impactful partners we have is the Business Chamber, because they employ a lot of our teams. We've got about 10 teams of between 5 and 8 people on a team that is working in the city in PE, and we're cleaning up the city, we're fixing things and making a difference. So if you've got any questions, you're welcome to ask it now.
I just want to make a time arrangement, because we said 10:30, and I know some of you made appointments, so we are going to continue with, let's say, 10-15 minutes of questions, so quickly think about what you want to ask, and then we'll take the most important. After that, If you have to be tentatively, then by all means, but after the 15 minutes of questions and answers, we just want to get those who say, I definitely want to be involved, just stay behind and we just want to do something. Please make sure you fill in this register, even if after everything you don't want to be involved, and maybe revisit your add into the WhatsApp group. Some of you have said no, maybe after this you understand that the problem is much bigger than you thought, but the solution is right here at hand. Yeah, seeing this stuff, I hope all of you are as overwhelmed by the work that MES have done and came with an incredibly well thought out plan that really will help us solve. I mean, and just to understand, as church, as me coming here, I cannot do this work, and that's why we said from the beginning, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. We'll just partner with those who have been working on the wheel for 38 years. And let's use their expertise. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Now it's time for questions. I'm not going to moderate the questions. Only we'll do it with you and Ilse. Ilse, you're welcome to show yourself that we can see you.
Yes.
I have two questions. So, on average, how long does it take to take somebody through the four-stage model on average?
Okay, so on average, just for those on average, how long does it take somebody to go through the four-stage model? And I'll start off and then Ilse can add her 2 cents. So locally for us, I'm trying to manage the safe space that we have, that somebody doesn't stay in the safe space for longer than 3 months. Otherwise it becomes a comfortable place. I remember when we started the safe space, I hadn't been in there for a couple of months, so when I went to go check to see what it looks like, and I went to the women's facility, they had their families' pictures up on the wall. And I remember they made home for themselves, and I said, hold on, it's not supposed to be home. The point is that you become change ready and your desire is to want to move to a shelter more long term. So 3 months for me is a nice indicator. So within 3 months, having that person move and take the next step. And then in the shelter itself, we try and want to have a longer than 8-month period. Otherwise the guys become institutionally minded and they struggle to reintegrate. So it can take up to about a year and 6 months, I would say from my perspective, for somebody to have a chance and an exit, a successful exit from the system. Ilse, have you got anything to add?
Yeah, it's a brilliant question. Remember, in the cost of homelessness study findings about long-term homeless and how the international community defines long-term homeless is if you've been on the street for longer than a year. And more than 50% of our guys have been on the street more than a year, which means their road to rehabilitation is going to take longer. And that is why it's crucial that we have outreaches, so that when we find guys on the street that's new, that has landed on the street, that we can get them into the process quickly, because then on average, they can be out within 6 months. Okay? When you have long-term homeless, you are looking at anything, like Ronnie said, between a year and a half, and it can even be up to 3 years. Especially if that person has got factors like severe psychiatric issues, disabilities, because the state's waiting list for old age homes, for mental facilities are very long. And so that's why it's crucial that you need to understand, what does your particular population look like? How long have they been on the streets? Because it's going to give you an indication how long it's going to take you guys to get them through the process. I hope that helps.
Thanks.
Second question was around the funding. What does that look like?
Funding.
The funding model. So where you get from and how do you distribute that to the centers?
Yeah, so thank you for the question. So obviously we're a non-profit, so we've got to raise our own support, so we're depending on donations, whether it be local or international. We've got a team of fundraisers, or what do they call themselves now, development and marketing agents or whatever. They come up with these fancy little terms or whatever, but they work well, and our work hand in hand with the guys from Cape Town, because we're the coastal branch. We think the same way. Once you go in there, your brain structure changes the job. You think differently. But then also what I've realized is, and I think Elsa is on the same track, is that in order for me to create sustainability, I need to have social enterprises. And that's where our work readiness programs become vitally important. So what we've got is we've got partnerships with the Great Established Trust, for instance, and they pay the guys a wage to work the 4 hours on the street, but they also give us a non-wage fund. And from that fund, what I've done is I've started buying some lawnmowers and brush cutters. So we're going to start our little garden service. So that funding suddenly stops. We're not kind of dead in the water. We've created, and what that does also, it creates the opportunity for you to do skills development. So guys are now going to learn a new skill, but they also learn the disciplines of being at work, performing well, having a good service and everything. So that's one that we've got, and we've also got a thrift shop. And we're actually going to branch out with our thrift shop now, and that creates the funds. From that I can employ, but I can employ, because volunteers are great, but they're volunteers. I want to employ the best people. I want to employ the best occupational therapists. I want to employ the best social worker. I want to employ the best people for the job at hand. I want to be able to employ a workshop manager that's going to run our workshop for us and is going to bring in those funds. And in order to do that, I must be able to promise them a salary. And that I can only do if I have that social enterprise, because donors are great and you get the lump sums in, but next year the donor says, sorry, I'm going to be donating to someone else, or business is bad, you can't donate, and now you're sitting. We are the least donor-dependent branch in the group at the moment.
You said it, Bruce.
It's something I'm passionate about. There's value not just in the people, but in what you can achieve through the world. Any other questions you want to please? Yes.
Ronnie, you mentioned the business chamber, and we've got huge industries in Ukraine who I know are members of the business chamber. And we're not necessarily getting anything back from the membership they are paying to the chamber. And I heard you saying that there's a special relationship. Is there a way that you guys can start talking to them to support a local structure through business chamber? Because I think our businesses in Ukraine are so heavily burdened, because there's only a few that you can go to ask for something. And they get it, but it's getting lesser and fewer. So I think we need to get a big brother on board. And I see the business chamber as big brother. I take VW for example, the VW Trust for that matter. I do see a lot of opportunity. Perhaps I'm talking too easily. You say I carry my heart on my sleeve.
Ilse, we'll just ask you about the partnership with the business chamber and how we can nurture that here locally in Utenhage. I think for me, my model is don't serve. And that's what we did, for instance, when our partnership started by us taking a group of guys and we went and cleaned out the cemetery. It took us 2 months. We didn't get paid for it, but we went and did it. And from that, we now sit with all the contracts and stuff that we have now. Every partnership, new partnership in a new cluster, because they divided the city up into clusters. Every cluster we go in is on the back of a previous cluster that's talking, so yes, we're going to talk, but we go in and we show them, like I'll say, okay, listen for a month, come and work for a month and let's see the impact. So you go do the impact stuff. You're going to cut the grass that is sky high or whatever, and you do the honest work afterwards. But if you do the impact stuff, they get the wow factor, and that's how you nurture that relationship and build on it. That's how we've been doing it locally, and I'm sure all you need is, you need 2 or 3 businesses that are willing to say, okay, we'll stick our necks out and take a chance, and then you find other businesses that are impressed with what's happening, and they kind of come. And those business trainers, those guys, they actually go and market for you, which is what we've had. I don't know, the officer that is very successful. I mean, they've had international awards and stuff in Cape Town. Was it?
Yeah, I think, and I'm sorry, but that was the disclaimer. We are a Christian organization, and the question you raised is such an important one, in terms of, okay, there is only a couple of businesses, we need help, because remember, homelessness, it's a pebble in the shoe, right? I mean, there's load shedding, there is unemployment, there's so many other big issues. There's the new tax. What is happening with the budget? Party politics. I mean, but homelessness is like a pebble in the shoe. If you're gonna run the marathon, you're gonna have a wound in the end of the day. So we get that there are sometimes bigger issues, and that we need to support each other. Business chambers need to support each other, because of the limited resources that we do have. Because remember, we painted a first prize picture for you this morning in terms of what is working already in other areas and what is going on in PE, and but I think the thing that I come back to is when Jesus fed the 5,000, and he asked his disciples, what do you have? And so it's like Ronnie said, if people that's in this world today commit, even if you don't know yet where you can play a role, or even if you think, okay, I still need more information, commit to say, we're going to get together and we're going to see what do we have in our hand. Because sometimes just when we start, that creates energy for bigger fish, bigger pools of money to come in. Remember that very first safe space that we put up. Not a lot of people were excited about it, because remember, it as a concept, it never have existed before. It took 3 years to lobby the local government to give us that piece of earth. We had to go and find the money. That safe space cost us R1 million. 600,000 of it is beneath the safe space, because Cape Town has got, if you're putting up containers and if you're building a house, you have to do a foundation. So we had to compact the earth. And so it was difficult. It was not, what we're presenting here today seems like, wow, they just decided to do it and it happened. It was but just start. I think that is just start, because then God multiplies the little that you have.
Yeah, I think just adding to the 3 years is also what you have to your advantage is a study that's been done, there's proof. So maybe it won't take 3 years, it can happen a lot sooner, because we can't find that they didn't have anything to show. It was sort of like just a vision and a dream. We've got something we can do, we've got proof, we've got the
one more question.
Yeah? Yes.
Ek het 'n vraag weer voor die VIA. Die mense wat hierdie program is, wat is die statistieke van hulle toekoms? Hoe kom daar aan hulle teruggeval? Is hulle permanent in die systeem?
Ilse, die dame weet, wat is die statistieke van die mense wat klaar gemaakt het en aangeweer beweeg dit hoe hulle terugval of hoe doen hulle?
Ek kon nie hoor nie.
Die vraag was, wat is die statistiek?
Wat is
Wat-
die statistiek?
Kan jy my hoor, wat is die statistiek van mense wat deur die program is, wat voortgaan en terugval, nee, wat weer op die
Yes.
straat beland, so lang termyn, nee.
Okay. Goed, kom ek gaan nou weer gou my screen share, as dit okay is met julle. Goms, nou moet ek uit hierdie ene uitkom eers. Skus julle. Dat ek net hier uitkom. Want ek het nou in die week het ek met die Stellenridge ouens gaan praat. En hulle het presies dieselfde vraag gevra. In terme van ons suksesrate. Dis eintlik 'n vraag oor suksesrate. En skus julle. En dit is geweldig belangrik om te sê, om te define, how do we define success? Okay, want ons het 'n tannie wat daar by McDonald's lê. Sy is nou al 40 jaar op die straat en sy drink 8 liter papsak op 'n dag. Okay? Sy is nog steeds op die straat. Okay? Sy sal nooit kan werk nie. Maar sy drink nou 4 liter papsak 'n dag. Né? So is dit sukses? Sy is nog steeds dronk. Maar in terme van die werk wat ons met haar doen op die pad, is daar sukses. Maar as ek nou net die regte PowerPoint kan kry, ons het 'n suksesrate op hierdie stadium van die geveg van 74%. Wat beteken 74%? Dit beteken van die aanvanklike kontak in die eerste fase tot en met waar ons vir hulle kontak na 6 maande na 'n jaar om te hoor hoe gaan dit met jou. Is 74% van die ouens wat deur ons proses is nog steeds sober, hulle is nog steeds employed en hulle is nog steeds housed. Maar nou moet ek net vir julle die regte
What we said is, let's just celebrate. Last week Friday, I wanted to cancel this meeting because things weren't going well. Now we are a room full of people. That's Goldfish now, that's 300% or 3,000% more than a year ago, probably when he started to running, than the year before that when he was alone and everybody was just complaining. So I think we are making progress. Are we going to solve the problem by this winter? I doubt it, although I'm one of those guys that want that to be done. So I just want to say next steps. So after this, I said we'll just get those that feel that they have input and they have resources, we'll gather around this table. For the rest, maybe just make a note. I still don't know which date or time is the best, if a breakfast is best, if it's just best to come together like this. But I was thinking if we shouldn't follow this up in May, and that we get those business people in, because the important statistic about the business is we are spending the money already. We're just spending it wrong. That slide of yours with that money, I think, is vital for us to understand. You can need to channel the money that we are spending on homelessness in any case just in the right direction. We don't need to get more money. It's already going somewhere, it's just not making the difference. So, and the coupon system and all of that, those details. So I don't know who's going to be the coordinator, I'm just the instigator of many things. So Ronnie needs to help us around this table. So Ilse, I still don't see your PowerPoint. Are you just going to...
That's right, ek het hom gekry, that's right.
So Ilse is going to answer this question, and then maybe Ronnie is going to make one more comment, and then we'll gather around this table. Make sure the list is there. If you want to receive updates on WhatsApps, we'll send all the detail over. The last thing is spread the news, spread the news through your circle of influence. That's why I'm mentioning May. Please, because if each of you invite 5 more people, then we are a lot more than we can start making a difference. So that's what I'm counting on now. Because I'm new here, I don't have contacts in the business chamber. I don't know all of you, but each of you represents a whole group of people that me, myself, that Ronnie and Rolf can't get to. And some people won't listen to Rolf, but they will listen to you. They won't listen to Ronnie because they don't know him, but they will listen to me. Something. Okay, thank you, Ilse.
That's hy. Okay, so hier kan julle sien, ons het 834 contact points gehad. We had 834 contact points. In other words, people coming to the help desk during the day, people that we found on streets, people that was brought to us by SAPS or by the Neighbourhood Watch. So in that first leg, outreach and relief, we had 834 contacts. Of that 834, 425 joined the various change readiness programs. Now, remember, we're working in a JOC. In other words, it is not just MES's numbers, it's also the Haven Shelter numbers, it is TB HIV Cares numbers. So this is all of the partners that join in that's doing change readiness activities with us. Of that 425, now in other words, it was 51% of the 800. Of that 425, 195 went to work programs. Of that 195 people, 152 people are still employed, still sober, still in permanent accommodation, which means they have not returned to the streets. So that's important because in terms of law enforcement, just chasing the people from one area to another area, it's not, the people are not leaving. Through this model, people are not returning to a state of homelessness. But once again, it is not, MES isn't the savior here. It is how we work together to achieve this.
Myself, Ilse, MES organization, we love the problem. And what we're saying to you is, allow us to come and join you to love your problem. And together, let's find, let's work on the solutions to that.
Insurance is a way to end things, and that's with the blessing or a prayer. So I never know non-church things, but since Ilse has stated your disclaimer, I do want to end us with prayer, and since I think this is a focus, and then those, maybe let's meet at that table, this table don't feel they have to join, so let's just meet let's just move our bodies. We've sat for an hour and a half, so let's just pray. Jesus, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you that the MES is not the Savior, but that you are the Savior, but that you have given us organizations like MES who have done the messy work and the long work of thinking and studying and working and failing forward. I pray that you will euthanize low-lying fruit, that we will understand the broken window theory in our own context. I pray that you will give us people that have the time and the energy and the resources to help the problem and to love the problem and to make a difference. We pray this in your name. Amen. Dankie. Ons volgende keer sal Ilse jou wonderkie wees as ons hier is. So ons het nou jou trippie na die podcast en we cancel your trip here. She was going to be in person, but she'll be here on the next round. Have a lovely day. Thank you, Ilse.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye.